I'm Molly Pesci, and this is Barnes & Noble Tagged. It's been said many times that history is just one bloody thing after another, which is why it is so great when history meets fiction, giving new life to an old story. Today, we've tagged some great historical fiction writers, and we are thrilled to have one of the very best right here with us in the Barnes & Noble studios. Lauren Willig's first novel, The Night the Clock Struck Death, pretty much had an audience of one, as she wrote it when she was only 9 years old, and it was promptly rejected by Simon & Schuster. But such challenges only made her more determined, and while she pursued the heady world of Harvard law, her heart remained in the world of historical romantic fiction. Her first published book, The Secret History of the Pink Carnation, laid the groundwork for the Pink Carnation series, and literally a bouquet of books followed, all about the mysterious lives of spies and the romance they inspire, set in early 18th century England. Her next books to bloom from the Pink Carnation series were The Mask of the Black Tulip, The Deception of the Emerald Ring, and she added to the arrangement The Seduction of the Crimson Rose. And the scent of the Pink Carnation continues in her latest book, The Temptation of the Night Jasmine. And we are just tickled pink to have her here in the Barnes & Noble studio. Lauren Willig, you've been tagged. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
At 9, you wrote your first book, which was promptly rejected. You went on to go to Harvard Law School. You practice as an attorney. But I'm not sitting here talking to you about legal briefs. No, I'm talking about
Good
your
thing,
book.
too.
Yeah. So how did you make that leap?
Well, I went straight from undergrad at Yale to do a degree in English history at Harvard with the intention of someday writing historically accurate romance novels. By the end of my second year of grad school, I realized there were a lot more footnotes involved in this process than I had imagined. I decided it was time to write my first romance novel instead of waiting any longer. And so when I started law school 2 years later, I already had The Secret History of the Pink Carnation, the first book in this Napoleonic spy series, finished, and I wound up, by a bizarre quirk of fate, getting my first book contract my first month of law school.
I have to ask you, while you were there, did you continue to write? Because, I mean, law school is incredibly difficult.
I did. When I signed that first contract, it was a 2-book contract. The first book was written. The second book was a figment of my imagination at that point. So I wound up writing a book a year while I was at Harvard Law.
You were amazing.
Thank you. No, honestly, I think distraction is a great thing because when you're worried about multiple things, you don't have time to over-obsess about any of them.
Yeah.
So you don't screw them up.
But the incredible thing about your books is you really immerse yourself in the characters. I mean, you know every detail. Is that a huge amount of work as well?
Well, some of
research.
it comes, the research, because I had this prior degree in English history, I had a lot of the background work already. I knew where to find things, which made a huge difference.
So tell us about the plot of The Temptation of the Night Jasmine. I know all your fans are like, well, we want to hear about it. So.
Oh, marvelous. Well, this book, the heroine, Charlotte, is a shy, bookish soul. Of all my heroines, she's the one who's the most like me. I generally don't model characters on myself, but I put a lot of myself into Charlotte. And she's grown up living her life through the lens of the book she reads.
I love about your books is that each spy is kind of unique. Tell us what's special about The Night Jasmine.
Well, in The Night Jasmine, since the hero and his nemesis are fresh from India, I tried to go with a slightly more exotically inflected flower because most of the heroes and the villains in my books have flower names. In the past book, the evil villain was the Black Tulip, the dreadful French spy. And this book, all we know is that the spy is called the Jasmine, and he leaves a hint of jasmine scent behind him as he goes off on his dastardly doings.
Ooh, it makes you just want to smell the book, you know?
That's true. We should have scratch and sniff books. That would be a great addition to the series.
Great. Well, the book is called The Temptation of the Night Jasmine. It's available right now, and it's great. It's so nice to meet you, Lauren. Thank you so
nice
much.
to meet you too.
We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Historical fiction can take on many tones. We've tagged a few stories that are centuries old, fairly current, brutal, brave, and almost always eccentric. First, from best-selling author Bernard Cornwell comes Agincourt. Set in the Hundred Years' War era, this action-packed epic is about King Henry V and the Battle of Agincourt in 1415. The fictional protagonist, Nicholas Hook, signs on with Henry's army as an archer, where 6,000 Englishmen confront 30,000 French soldiers. Next, best-selling author T.C. Boyle has already brought a fictional twist to real-life characters, such as serial king John Harvey Kellogg in The Road to Wellville and sex researcher Alfred Kinsey in The Inner Circle. Boyle now turns his sights on Frank Lloyd Wright in The Women. It's a fictional account of Wright's life as told through the experiences of the 4 women who loved and inspired him. Plus, Philippa Gregory has made her place in historical fiction, writing bestsellers like The Queen's Fool and The Other Boleyn Girl, which was also made into a movie. And in her most recent book, The Other Queen, she creates a historically based plot that sheds new light on Mary, Queen of Scots. Ooh, what is that scent? The night Jasmine has been here and is telling me I better get back to reading the book he stars in. Now, who am I to argue with such a dashing spy? So I better wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on Barnes & Noble Tagged.